When we bought this house in the north of Sweden, we thought we knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew it was old, we knew it needed work, and we knew that no one had been taking care of this house for a long time. What we didn't know is how much work it exactly was going to take. For months, we had been telling ourselves that we just needed to push through. One more project, one more repair, one more winter. But eventually, we had to admit something to ourselves. This wasn't working anymore. So we made a decision that honestly, we never thought we would make. We left the house we spent years working on and bought another one. And somehow, this decision opened more doors than we ever expected. Because while all of this was happening, our lives were changing in another way too. And suddenly, we found ourselves looking at the future a little different. So today, we're finally going to sit down and tell you guys what actually happened. Let's go back to where we left off. 2 summers ago, we spent the entire summer on our wall,
from June until
the end of September. And then we fixed the porch after that. So, the end of October.
it was snowing when I put the door in.
And then we were kind of relieved that we had the walls closed and insulated in time for the winter.
Well, we actually didn't insulate the inside of the wall downstairs until January when it actually got cold in the
We
house.
thought we could take it a bit slower and things would get easier. But what we didn't know is that we were up for a very rough winter. We had a lot of things happening that winter. Originally, we intended to work on the inside, fix the porch, and then started insulating the inside of the house that summer. But it turned out that we were fixing a wall, which we hadn't planned. We didn't intend to change the siding of the house until 2 years after that.
No, we were going to open the walls inside and add wall studs everywhere it needed them and insulate and then put a vapor barrier. Instead of that, we found the floor upstairs had dropped almost 10 centimeters
Yeah.
in the living room.
And we didn't know yet why.
Yeah. And then that's when we found the wall.
The headache. So that explained why the wall dropped. You actually built a retaining wall before we found out the wood rot.
Yeah, because it was dropping.
We thought because we moved it and we put all our stuff upstairs that there was somehow too much weight. But no, it was because the upstairs basically was not supported at all
Yeah, one side of the floor wasn't held by anything.
because the beams had rotted away.
Yeah, it was the, I don't know what you'd call it in Swedish. We call it slat on the walls inside that was holding up the floor. So 2.2 centimeter boards nailed to the wall was all that was holding that floor up.
Basically, if we hadn't found the rotted wall, it would have been a matter of time before upstairs collapsed.
The whole side of the house.
So it was good that we did when we did because, it being summer, we could actually open everything up and work on it. But the problem was that back then, we were living off one paycheck. You were still waiting on your work permit from the migration bucket. And that was a lot of material. So we burned through our entire savings working on that.
We bought the material to do the whole downstairs and we used it all on that wall.
Yep. So here the winter came. We were out of money. So we needed some time to reorganize. Luckily, in August that year, you did get a job. You did get your papers through. So we could start catching up on the bills again. Uh, yeah, but that was pretty rough. And then we were both working and working on the house after. the whole day of work, basically. We had a couple hours of daylight left in September and October to work outside and get it finished. So yeah, we were tired.
I'm still tired.
Yeah. I don't think that goes away. Yeah, so one day after work, we decided to paint the windows, yeah, downstairs. And I figured I'd put a load of laundry in, and we have this it's a washer and dryer combination. Now I usually just do a wash and then hang it, but because it was already getting colder outside and stuff, I was like, oh, I'll put the towels in a washing and drying combination. Never tried that before, but it was a 5-hour program. So I figured, makes sense. 5 hours, two for washing, three for drying, something like that. So I tossed the towels in, started the machine, and we went back downstairs to work on those windows for a couple hours. That was a good thing that we decided to have early dinner. So we went upstairs. And when we went upstairs, there was like this,
Just a really light odor.
you could barely smell it, like it was coming from far away or something. So we were like, where is it coming from? And we couldn't really pinpoint the location because it was so
You could smell it like
not
at
obvious
the top of
smell.
the stairs. But the smoke detector was at the top of the stairs and it wasn't going off.
So we started to think maybe it came from the attic. Our chimney sweep guy had checked it and approved it and everything. But we know that the attic is insulated with sawdust and the chimney goes like right through the attic, obviously. And we don't know how close the sawdust is to the chimney. You peeked in there once.
It was far away. So I rebuilt the outside chimney, the brick, down into the attic because it was all falling apart when we bought the house. And I'm not a bricklayer.
Turned out pretty good.
It turned out okay. That's not in any videos, but yeah, we rebuilt the whole top part of our chimney for about 2 meters. Anyway, I went to the attic, up the ladder on the roof in the snow to look inside and see if any sawdust had fell against the chimney to and caught fire.
And luckily it didn't. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't smell
Oh, I
anything
went
up
in there
there.
and looked. There
Yeah.
was nothing there.
So luckily it didn't come from there because I think our house would have burned down if that happened. But yeah, we still had to figure out where that smell was coming from. So we had the idea if we turn all the lights off to check if we could see smoke and we could actually see the smoke hanging
With
around
flashlights
with flashlights. When we did that, we could kind of pinpoint the location better.
to the bathroom.
Yeah. I was kind of shining around our dryer. The most smoke was around the washer dryer. But yeah, so we stopped the program and I opened it. And as soon as I opened it, I guess it got oxygen and it started to smoke real bad. And I could see that one of the towels was like slightly catching on fire.
And not slightly, it caught on fire.
Anyways, yeah, you reached in there and yeah, you grabbed it.
And threw it in the bathtub, and I was going to spray it with the shower sprayer.
But what you didn't know was that I had been cleaning the paintbrushes with turpentine, and that little paint tray was still filled with a bit of turpentine. And he ended up throwing the little towel exactly in the turpentine.
So I threw a fireball across the bathroom into turpentine.
There was like a massive fireball coming out of the bathtub, and I'm laughing right now, but it wasn't funny. So I couldn't see, like,
She ran out.
yeah, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. Like, there was a whole bunch of smoke, and I'm glad you could still be where you were.
So I grabbed the shower wand thing and just blasted it with water until it went out, which probably isn't good mixing water and turpentine, but it worked.
Yeah, so you managed to put the fire out, and most of our towels were wasted in that process. We figured out afterwards that that cycle was a 5-hour drying cycle. So instead of washing the towels the dry, dirty towels had just been sitting there and had been drying for more than 3 hours,
Yeah,
getting
because
hotter
it
and
was
drier.
airtight, smoldering in there. It wasn't.
Yeah, the fire didn't have oxygen to start burning until we opened it.
So we had a little backdraft in the bathroom.
So we almost set our house on fire. So that was one of the events. Do I say it gets worse? I don't know if it gets worse.
Well, if you remember in the previous video, it started with the water boiler exploding in May.
Yeah, so I was editing upstairs, which we lived upstairs. The bathroom, the kitchen, the bedroom slash office was there. So I was editing, and then all of a sudden I heard this really loud bang. So I thought it was the cats doing something, knocking something over. But they were laying on the bed, so it wasn't them. And I knew Derek was outside, so I went to check it out. And then I knew it came kind of from the bathroom, so I peeked in there, and then our water boilers like hanging on this wall, and apparently it exploded, so the top came off, and then there was this hot, boiling, almost boiling water just floating out like a fountain. Yeah, everywhere. It's super hot. So
She did manage to unplug it while she was standing there. I think.
yeah, I did unplug it. I was like, oh, what do I do? So I unplugged it, ran outside, got you. I should have just turned the water off, but because it was still coming out, I was like, what do I do?
The water boiler exploded, and I was like, huh? Did you turn the water off? No. I was like, well, you might want to do that.
Which is downstairs, and then I run into the wherever the water comes in the house, and I turned that off. I was like, oh, I thought he wanted to see it. But yeah, so the bathroom up there, worth explaining, hasn't been used really in 25 years.
So we know the original owner got too old to go up the stairs, so they built her a shower and a toilet downstairs. A few people lived in the house after she passed, but I don't think many. And then she passed sometime in the late 90s.
Afterward, it just the house was bought and sold again, usually as a vacation house. Some people had the intention to fix it and always figured out it was too much work and kept selling it again. So no one lived in there and worked on the house for a long time. And that bathroom hadn't been used all this time, apart from someone put the bathtub. I think that was not that old yet in there.
Oh no, the faucet for the bathtub was pretty old.
Yeah, well, I'm saying pretty new, still at least 15 years old, 20 probably. Anyways, so when the boiler exploded, that bathroom was not waterproof. We also cut some pipes out, so it had
Radiator pipes.
so it basically had pipes
It had
cut off, holes from the top to the bottom. So when this happened, all that water from the boiler was just raining downstairs, making a ginormous mess. So that was the house flooding once, and the house almost burning once. And then, yeah, I don't know, a couple, was it weeks later, I think? It wasn't long after the fire. Like, I was coming from a long work week and tired, and I was like, oh, you know what? I don't do this often, but I'm gonna take a hot bath.
Now, mind you, we didn't have a shower at this point because we were going to tear out
Yeah.
the shower room downstairs.
Yeah, so we were showering in the bathtub, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take an actual bath. So fill up the bathtub, and we had been cleaning dishes and stuff before, so I actually ran out of hot water halfway through my bath. So my water was like halfway warm, halfway cold, not so relaxing. Anyways, yeah, I figured I get out and I unplug the drain and I start drying off in the bathtub. Now I didn't notice right away that apparently our drain couldn't handle all that load of water from the bathtub.
Yeah, so it's an old house and it has a floor drain under the bathtub, and the pipe just kind of drained into the floor drain.
Yeah, so I went to step out and I noticed that there's this huge layer of water laying on the floor. So I dry it off real quick, and I did hear some like rumbling outside of the bathroom. I don't know. I figured you were doing something. So I come out of there, and he's laying on the bed, and he's like, So I'm like halfway thinking, like, what's wrong with you? So then I'm like, oh, maybe we should check downstairs because maybe
I was laying on the bed bleeding.
I didn't see that. I was like, oh, maybe we should check downstairs because we probably have some water dripping. What did you say? There's no need to check. It's raining down there. God, so what happened to you while I was drying off?
So she was in the bathroom, and I heard like this crackling sound, like I don't know, like electricity shorting out or something downstairs. And I was wearing socks, no shirt, and pajama pants, I think. And I went to run downstairs, and there was sawdust all over the stairs. So I made 2 steps from the top and went headfirst to the bottom.
Oh, gee.
Uh, I didn't hit any steps. I just went headfirst all the way to the bottom, which is weird because it's a spiral staircase. But I did hit the wall with
Yeah.
my arm.
Yeah, so you were bleeding and you were bruised, but luckily you didn't break anything.
Yeah. And so I saw the water pouring out of the ceiling, but I had a headache and my arm hurt. So I was just like, I'm going back to bed.
So he was laying there. I was like, oh, should we grab some towels? We should try to dry it. He's like, oh, don't worry. It'll be there tomorrow. But yeah, I tried to dry the floor a little, but when it goes through the ceiling with the sawdust in there, there's no drying it.
The thing of my thought pattern is we're tearing it all out anyway,
Yeah.
and it's just going to leak through the old floor under the house. So,
Which is also coming out, and the ceiling's coming out, and the sawdust.
Sawdust. So I was just like, I'm not even going to try to open that up and dry it tonight.
Well, the next day we did put a dehumidifier downstairs to dry it as good as we can.
Put plastic and put the dehumidifier in there for about a week.
Here's the thing. You think it can work out fixing a house and living there at the same time?
I just got to say, I told you it wouldn't work.
I thought it would work because I don't need much. I'm content with very little. I was like, oh, it can be like camping, whatever, you know. So, yeah, we didn't really have a properly functioning bathroom. We moved our kitchen upstairs, but mind you, just a couple cabinets and a sink. So we didn't really have a kitchen.
We had a sink, a dishwasher, countertop, and a induction hot plate thingy.
We made it work for a good 2 years. But, I didn't even mind all that stuff. The problem was mainly our cats. Because you cannot tell a cat to not go somewhere. We had the idea to fix downstairs, live upstairs. We had a plastic door in front of the living room.
We had one upstairs.
Yeah, we had one upstairs. We had one around the, how to say, fence of the stairs to keep all the dust out. We had a door to the living room so they couldn't go there. But if a cat wants to go somewhere, it's gonna go somewhere. So it took, 2 days until they figured out how to just scratch through the plastic and go there anyways.
They
And
use their murder mittens and open the plastic.
And if they couldn't, they would just yell until you would open the door. There was no keeping them out of there.
But normally they would just lay by the wood stove.
Yeah, they weren't even too bad, but still they go through a messy construction site with sawdust and they bring all that stuff up.
And then the female, Lauren, she decided she was going to use the sawdust for cat litter all the time.
Yeah. So whenever she found a pile of sawdust, and we cleaned down there, but it was like also coming from the ceiling all the time.
Any sawdust anywhere.
Yeah, she would be. So we had to clean that. And then, yeah, they brought all the sawdust upstairs and on the bed. And we had 3 air cleaners running.
All of our clothes, no matter how much we washed them, were full of sawdust.
You have allergies and asthma, and living in a construction site with those two was not a good combination. So that whole winter, you had
3 air cleaners, HEPA filters going upstairs, big ones.
the entire winter, you had issues with your nose, bleeding nose, sinusitis, everything because of all that.
A few
Until
months ago.
later. Yeah, so we had to rethink our living situation. Yes. And, well, because you got your job, We managed to pay the bills. We even managed to start saving up a bit. And then we found this other house in town, the same town. It's like a 15-minute walk away from the first house. That they asked way too much for it. But yeah, no, especially for a second house. And it only had one bedroom, but we only need one bedroom. Oh, and the thing is like in our favorite part of the town. This is where we take walks to watch the sunset by the
We
river.
use the sunset in our videos. You've actually seen the garden.
Yeah, so this was for sale when no one was interested, and it stood for sale for half a year, September, I think. And then it wasn't until March that they lowered the price for the second or the third time. And this is when we were like, hey, we might be able to make this work with the money we had. It was still not the money they wanted, but we made them an offer. And then quickly they said, oh, we need more money. And we were just like, well, then it's not going to happen because we don't have anything more than
They
what
said
we
it
can
came
offer.
with all this stuff.
So, anyways, it basically came to like, this is what we have. And if you want more, then we cannot afford it.
We told them, this is what we offer, and if you don't want to take it, then don't accept it.
And then they were like, okay, then we're not going to sell it. So we were like, okay. And then it took 3 days. And he's just like, just wait, they'll come back. And yeah, after 3 days, they accepted the offer. So this was a bit more than a year ago. And they accepted our offer. And then we could reorganize, really.
We didn't move right away either.
No, we cleaned it and stuff. The other thing, apart from living in the mess, working in a construction site while living there, you have all your stuff there. And it was always, oh, we need to work on this corner of the house. And we had to move all the tools from that corner into another corner.
Boxes, all of everything, always.
And the wood stove was in downstairs, so we were basically also using it as a living room. So we had to move furniture. So it was always a couple hours of preparing before we can work on a tiny section of the wall. And then we had to work on the next section, and then we had to move everything all over again. So now, with a place to live and a place to fix, we can take our household stuff all out of that house. And it's just going to be a construction site.
Yeah.
And we can do it properly. We can empty it, we can gut it, and then we can rebuild it.
Properly.
Instead of bits by bits, we can do the whole downstairs step by step because nothing's going to be in our way. We don't have to worry about tools laying around with cats walking around because they're going to be in the other house.
We don't know what properly entails yet, but we will when we go open the rest of the walls and the floor and ceiling.
Yes. So we did work a bit on the porch while this was all happening. And after we bought the new house, we've been doing little projects here, but it's not as much of a headache as the first house because this house, even though it's also pretty old, it's a bit newer. It's been maintained. The previous owner had the roof changed and the bathroom changed. So there's no major constructional, how to say, problems with this house.
Except the bedroom.
So I guess from now on, you'll be seeing little bits of this house until we get back to the first house.
Well, this property has two houses. So I guess you're going to see bits and pieces of working on these two houses and the original house.
We don't want to work on 3 houses at a time. We decided we're going to do one at a time. So our first house has been on a break, but we will finish it.
Next summer, we'll go back and be back to it after vacation next summer, whatever time we take our vacation.
So after we moved, we've been wanting kids for a while, and that just wasn't possible. Even we lived in Switzerland.
Unaffordable in Sweden.
One would have to quit working to stay home would be almost as much as staying working full time and pay for daycare. And everything was so expensive there that we couldn't afford for one to stay home or to pay for full-time daycare there. But as soon as we moved to this house, where it's not a construction site, we could actually start trying.
And after about a year of trying, we finally got the news we'd been hoping for. We're having a baby.
So, yeah, I got pregnant.
So we have a new addition coming soon. Don't worry, we'll put a microphone on the baby too.
It's gonna take a while before she starts talking. Poor kid is gonna learn 3 languages, not bilingual, but trilingual. I'm gonna speak Dutch with her. Derek's gonna speak English. And then she's gonna learn Swedish at daycare. And I guess watching shows and stuff in Swedish, listening to Swedish. I think it's the best that she learns from native speakers the language so she gets the pronunciation and everything right as well. It's the best way. So yeah, exciting updates.
That's our big cliffhanger.
So these are the ultrasound pictures. And it's probably gonna be a girl. The lady didn't really want to say or dare to say, which I understand because if she's wrong and someone buys a whole room full of pink and it turns out a boy or something, then people might get upset. But it really doesn't matter to us what it is or what she is. So yeah, we're sticking with a girl, and then we'll see what happens. So yeah, this is our big update, and thank y'all for being so patient and stay with us. We have a bunch of people that have watched from the start and have been really patient. We hope to be posting more frequently in the future.
But yeah, we wanted to explain why we haven't been making videos aside from working full time. Life happens. So we're expecting demons fall.
She's gonna be half as crazy as you. It's gonna be more than a full-time job. Y'all say it takes a town to raise a kid.
Our crazy matches.
Yeah.
Life is a journey. And I will get back to the other house eventually.
We obviously have a baby room to get ready first. Baby/bedroom. She's gonna sleep with us because, like we said, this house only has one bedroom. But I don't think she's gonna care.
No.
So yeah, that's her life right now. A new house, new plans, and a very big little adventure on the way. We still have a lot to figure out and a lot to show you. So stay tuned and see you in the next one.